Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Mike Morales. You are watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media on all of our networks and channels. I'm Mike Morales here in Southern California. That young man out there is
Jay Silverman, Phoenix, Arizona.
Jason. I like your T-shirt, dude. You look like a postcard.
Yeah, I haven't listened to this album in a while, but I love the boss.
Jason and I. Jason's one of those guys as a new taster, but he's got a wide palate. And I like to throw sometimes the kitchen sink or a curveball at him. And today we are going to taste and dissect something that he's actually researched. It's called Sotol Salvaje, Savage Sotol. And this is a new up-and-coming brand. It's coming into the United States. It is being imported. Look at the logo on that thing. I thought it had a scorpion in it, but it does not.
Yeah, be careful with those scorpions. It reminds me of my when I first got the bottle. It reminds me of my scorpion bite I got last summer in Arizona. It was very unpleasant.
You got bit by a scorpion? Oh my God! No wonder you don't get COVID.
Some big time pain, and my wife didn't believe me, but that's another story for another day. But I did drive myself to the ER with 1 foot.
Oh, wow. Holy cow. Well, hey, I'm glad you're here, Scorpion Man. But anyway, this is a artisanal Sotol. It's 100% pure Sotol. It's we'll give you more and more of the information as we go along. It is a higher ABV. It's 45 ABV. So it's a higher proof. Traditional mezcals and sotols will come up a little bit higher, 42, 45, sometimes even higher. So anyway, we're really excited. We're glad that these folks made it to send that to us, sipping off the cuff. It is a sotol from Durango, not from Chihuahua. So it's a whole nother region, another state. If you're not familiar with sotol, you can make it in 3 states. I believe it's Durango, Chihuahua, and I want to say Michoacan. I could be wrong, but I know those are the 2 primary ones that can produce Sotol legally, and there are other regions that produce a similar version called Palmilla, so it's outside the denomination of origin. We had, what's that?
Sonora.
Sonora. Yeah, that's it. Sonora. You're right. So anyway, here we go. We're going to taste this. I'm going to use my Stasso Jarrito for the mezcal version. It's much wider mouth. And Jason's going to play around with his. I think he's going to use a tequila one. Look at all the bubbles. I don't know if you can see that or not, but for those of you who are unfamiliar with Sotol, I fell in love with it years ago living in New Mexico, of the Jaques family, who is maybe some of you are familiar with the Don Cuco brand, also Por Siempre, and they were their patriarch was the first one to acquire a license to produce and export Sotol into the United States. The family is famous for having the first license from the government of Mexico to do this Sotol. Now, this is not it's not a pristine color, but it's not supposed to be. I really don't feel that, because they don't have the pristine look. I'm okay with that when it comes to stuff like Sotol and other agave spirits from other countries or other states. I mean, it's okay that it's not super clean, right?
Yeah.
So what are you getting? What do you have on the nose? You tell me. You did the research on this on these guys.
Let me tell you a little bit about why I'm excited about the brand, because they did send us the bottle without any kind of information packet or anything like that, but very intriguing bottle.
Minutes before we came online. That's when we got it.
I got mine earlier. Alfredo Conde, the master distiller, has his name on there. It's hand numbered and hand labeled with the lot number 2. To my knowledge, it's pretty cool. The bottle comes with a QR code as well. To my knowledge, about a year ago, they started this brand, maybe give or take a year or so, in Durango, and the lesser known capital of Sotol for me, Chihuahua being the primary location that I'm more familiar with, and Siempre Sotol Por Siempre to me has been one of the most successful brands because they had the great importer Back Bar Imports, which were able to get that brand into great cocktail bars, all the way back in New York City and beyond here in Arizona. So you see Sotol Por Siempre doing really well. And there's been some other brands. Sotol is on the rise. I see a lot more brands coming through Arizona now. And it just so happens, coincidentally, I'm working at a cocktail bar that just before New Year's changed the name from Illegal to Sotol Modern Kitchen and Cocktails. So we have Arizona's first Sotol focused cocktail bar with mostly all agave spirits. There's not Sotol in that many cocktails, but and there's not even that many Sotols on the bar, but they're growing a little collection. And but with this brand, starting a while ago, they started posting these really beautiful, informative videos on Vimeo. So it was easy to research, and I was able to share those videos with my colleagues at Sotol, and it was really, really fascinating stuff. I mean, it's all organic, naturally fermented Sotol. The process is really more reminiscent of mezcal's process, cooking process and fermentation than tequila. So I'd say it's closer to, Durango is known for some great mezcals, but this brand in particular.
Let me ask you a question, because you've observed this particular producer. Do they, for those of you who don't know, a Sotol distillery is called Avenata, very much like Bacanora. The Bacanora version is also known as Avenata. So, and I know from what I know about the Hawkes family, when they ferment in in-ground cement. They don't do it in tanks so much as they do it in ground in cement. Is that similar, or do they do theirs in vats? How does their fermentation work?
So Salvaje is doing underground volcanic rock ovens, right. And they're covering the pinas with dirt, and they're letting it cook there. So it's really that's where you're getting a lot of the flavor introduced. But with the fermentation, they use pretty small looking wooden fermentation tanks. It's maybe a 5.5 foot tall, 6 foot tall at the most fermentation. Okay. So it's a lot smaller than many of the fermentation tanks I've seen at tequila distilleries or anything like that. It's really the Venata is really just a wide open place with there's a tent covering it, and it's just an open air. There's not a lot else out there. It's really in the middle of nowhere, it looks like.
Well, very much like mezcal, right?
Right, and they have their Desilirions growing all around there. It looks like they have their pick of, as far as I can tell, they're really hand harvesting the pinas, a few at a time, as according to what's ripe. So it's a very laborious process, and they're really doing it right. You can just tell by just kind of looking at the information on the label and just seeing a little bit about the brand, that they're doing things in a kind of a painstaking, laborious way to get a real traditional Sotol. They're not trying to make a quick buck here.
Yeah, this is all about tradition.
So yeah, Alfredo, I think he's a third generation producer. He learned from his father when he was about 25 years ago when he was younger. And he's been doing things, in a very, very traditional way. So like I said, the natural fermentation, the volcanic rock ovens covered with dirt, packed on there to keep the oxygen down. And I forget what the length of the cooking time is. I have to imagine it's probably a couple days.
Oh yeah, at least.
Cooking process. A few days for that, and then the natural fermentation. No yeast introduced other than wild yeast, and so it's a very natural. It's I don't know if it's certified organic, but it's most certainly organic. You know how you get a certification.
Right. Yeah. Getting an organic certification, there's a lot involved, and judging from the way you're telling me, the way it's being roasted, it probably wouldn't qualify as organic with a USDA, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. Okay. So before we discuss distillation, let's smell it. Because on my first pass, while you were talking and filling me in on the brand, I got a musty smell. Not very different. I want to call it like a wet sheep, not wet dog or wet cat. More like there's a wetness, and I don't even want to call it a wet cement. It was almost like a wet creature of some sort, and then that dissipated, and that's okay because I'm looking for that. I'm looking for unusual aromas that aren't available in tequilas and are not widely known yet in mezcal, because Sotol, again, is not an agave spirit. It is considered. I think it's a some people call it an agave. It's been lumped in with other strains, varieties.
I got something for you. So this, I just noticed right when you were saying that, it definitely doesn't remind me of the other Sotols that we've tasted over the years. It's a way more of a mezcal feel to it, but that's it is a Daisy Wheeler on. It's reminding me of a Tepezate mezcal. That's what I'm kind of getting from it.
Okay. Yeah.
Tepezate maguey here that I'm kind of like, it seems like a cousin of the Tepezate.
Now that mustiness is gone. That was just on the initial pass. Once it's opened up and bloomed, now I'm getting more fruitiness, more you're right. It is more akin in the Aroma arena. It's more akin to mezcal.
Highly sought after agaves. Tepezate mezcals are produced in tiny batches and are sought after and can be prohibitively expensive. I don't have any idea what this Sotol costs, but this is definitely this is our first time trying it. But I'm thinking that the aroma is so much different than some of the other Sotols. I found that there was more similarity going from the Por Siempre, the Don Cucos, to the some of the other newer brands that I've tried. The Senor Sotol was the last one I tried, I think. And you find that kind of signature desert spoon aroma. This is where you get that desert rain and earthiness and way.
Yes.
This has that, but there's a lot more going on. It's kind of like you can taste the terroir going further south towards Oaxaca and cutting straight through the heart of Mexico down south in Durango. You're definitely getting a different. Well, let's try it because
I'm anxious. Let's
give it a shot.
Dive in. Oh. Oh. Oh my God! There's more of that wet fur or sheep, but I'm blown. You know what I mean? It's like like when you've been out in the rain a lot, and you come in, and maybe you've been out fishing or something, and you have a raincoat that's made out of some sort of a wool. It's like wet wool. When it gets damp.
I'm getting a pepperiness that reminds me of like almost one of the original Green Label Chinaco Blancos from way back in.
Oh my God!
Tamaulipas not being that far away from Durango, but the herbaceousness and the I want to say, the minerality, but it reminds me of one of those really old school, when they were taking their time making these really great tequilas back in the early days of. It has that like almost like we're tasting like the future of agave spirits here, because this, I feel like in about 5 or 10 years you're going to start seeing this at downtown LA or something.
You're already seeing stuff like this. This is outstanding. Like I said, on my first pass, I got more of that mustiness, that wet, damp fur or wool, and then in mid palate you get all this pepper. Not even a mid palate. It's like it didn't take very long. It just exploded, and then the sweetness took over. There's a sweetness here I get in mezcals too, like a nice plant
It's
sweetness.
it's balanced with a little bitter though. I get sweet, but I get balance, and I get like you're tasting. It's almost like you're tasting a variety of agave spirits all in one glass, but it's definitely interesting. And there's it still tastes more like mezcal than Sotol almost to me.
Yeah, because Jason
Cool.
and I were very familiar with the Don Cuco family and their style of Sotol. And the reason I fell in love with it, when I was living in New Mexico, they came to see me, and I said, "Your Sotol tastes and smells like desert rain." And I say that to a lot of people.
I never felt that. It's such a great. It's really hard to pin it down and describe it to people. We've been talking about that at the new Sotol cocktail bar, and it's. I had the opportunity one afternoon to kind of go around and pour tastes of Sotol to the guests, and many of them had never heard of it before because they're just trying to check out a new bar, and they were. So I kind of have to. That's my fallback when I describe Sotol. You described it extremely well, and that definitely stuck for me.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody who's ever lived in the desert Southwest or even here in Southern California, when some people say I can smell it's raining somewhere, that's literally the case when you live in the Southwest, because it rains a little bit differently, not like it does in Southern California, but you can smell it raining before you can smell the rain hitting the wet pavement and then evaporating before it gets to you, before that cell comes across, and that's what their style of Sotol smells and tastes like. This one, you're right. It's more, to me, more akin to mezcal. It is peppery hot. The finish goes on and on and on. There's not the smokiness that I've had in like the Palmilla that we had last year in 2020. That had a little bit more smoke to it. The smoke here is minimal, but whatever this wet cement, it sticks to it. It really stays on your palate. And I'm getting, oh my God, it's like this stuff is amazing.
The aroma grows and grows. I feel like it's going to open up even further, but it's
it really, definitely, the mustiness that I got, the mustiness, the dampness that I got at the beginning has gone. And on the nose, I started getting all these bright fruit flavors, fruit aromas.
Yeah.
And the mustiness was gone. And I call it mustiness because I don't have a bar for this, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because I've had musty tequilas that have been aged in barrels that are moldy, and that's a bad mustiness. This obviously is it's an unaged, so I don't know what they're calling it directly. In the past, depending on who's importing it, they'll call it a joven, which traditionally it's borrowing a benefit from the mezcal industry. Joven means unaged, whereas joven in tequila means something completely different. But it is unaged. And what do we know about distillation? Because I know we're just geeking out, folks. So bear with us, because we're going to give you as much as we possibly can on this. What do we know about the distillation process? Is it double pot? What are they using?
I love that they're doing. I love that they call it artisanal Sotol, because it certainly is artisanal.
Oh, yeah.
This is some really high-end stuff. I don't know. Let's see. I don't remember exactly what the distillation is, but let me check my notes, because I think they're doing it in a like a clay pot. But let me see.
Oh my God! I hope so. That would explain a lot to me.
I don't want to misinform anybody, though, so let me see what I...
Yeah, bear with us, folks, because it was really interesting. The gentleman's timing who got this to us was just uncanny. We're just about to go on the air to tape this. I get an email, and it's from the gentleman the importer who got this to us, and it's got information we've been waiting for. Each bottle of Sotol has a location and a QR coded coordinates to show the specific area where that bottle was harvested. Now they're taking a page from the single estate tequilas, the vintage tequilas that we're starting to see on the market, like Ocho. where they're coming from a certain huerta, they're coming from a certain field, and they're naming that field. You're going to get QR codes as to where the plants are coming from, which is cool. This is so.
I'm looking at the distillation. The stills are, I believe it's hard to tell. They don't tell you what the stills are made out of. It looks like probably copper. It's a small copper still.
I don't have any pictures of distillation. I would love to see how they're doing it.
Page. It's really fun to it'd be really fun to sip along, watch these videos, but they broke it down into fermentation and distillation. With the distillation, there's not a ton of information other than that, cutting the heads and tails and having it being distilled twice. And they show the still, it's really, really small. So it could be stainless steel, it could be copper. It's hard to tell exactly, but I'd have to look at the information and find out more. Maybe.
Yeah, there's. I'm looking at the presentation that we were sent, and it doesn't say anything. I will say our distillation process honors the region's ancestors by handcrafting our spirits. We give back to our legacy, heritage, and community. Casa Dex Desierto is the first distillery in Durango dedicated solely to the distillation and production of Sotol in partnership with the farmers of Pino Suarez, Durango. So this is a co-op, all right?
Proprietary distillation, but it's when they say the traditional distillation of Durango, I'm thinking
it's got to be copper, right?
Probably copper. It's definitely a small still, I can tell you that much. But
so we know it's small batch. We know we know the coordinates where they're hand harvested. Mm-hmm. And they're not called, by the way, if you're trying to remember the name of the harvesters, they're not called jimadores. They're actually called tumbadores, because hacking the pencas, the leaves from because it's a bulb, the plant is, but once you hack the leaves, you literally, the guys go in there with like elongated crowbars and push it down so it releases itself from the roots. So the roots continue to grow again. You can grow from seed as well. Some of you have probably traveled cross country, maybe not lately, but I know I have, and I've taken pictures of Sotol is widely used as ground cover here in California, in Arizona, in Texas, where we actually have a gentleman who makes a Texas Sotol the right way, using a Daslerian Texanum. And how many varieties does this gentleman make? Do you know how many I don't know, we call it expressions.
Yeah, Salvaje, this is it as far as I know.
Okay. Because the other one that we had, Sotol Robert Murray, was using two different types. Sotol Daslerian Wheelery, and then the Daslerian starts with a D, and I'm not familiar yet with the plant nomenclature yet. But there are two separate types. One was a double distilled, and the other one, using a different plant, was a triple distilled. And I'm not sure why the difference. I'm not sure what determines why the maestro sotolero would determine one would require double distillation as a triple. So you tell me, you're the cocktail guy, you're the mixologist, you're the chef. How would you present this to a customer? Because this is really gamey, folks. This is when I say game,
really,
I don't say it in a bad way.
Yeah, I mean, this is like for a connoisseur, like a really someone who's really interested in agave spirits and wants to learn more would love this, because it's going pretty deep. This is like a rabbit hole of it reminds me of like it's definitely really
it's muy rustico, ladies and gentlemen. Muy rustico.
Climates that you talked about in one of the other Sotol reviews, but this is far different than the Sotol from Chihuahua. It's not mezcal from Oaxaca. It's really a unique thing that represent the terroir of Durango and the Pino Suarez area, and it's something that they definitely put a lot of heart into. It's really, really good. It's just it's just gonna open up more and more, and for somebody who really wants to try something different and who loves to drink different agave spirits, it's fascinating, actually. It's
Would you bother putting this in a cocktail? I mean, you have to. You have to.
I probably wouldn't want to do that at first. I'd probably sip it neat. I want to get to know it more. Honestly, to get the bottle, like kind of like spend some time with the bottle, and then. But at first, all my instincts tell me that it's going to really, like after a few days, it's going to open up even more and more, and it's just kind of be like an amazing journey of like Sotol here. But I'd be maybe maybe an old fashioned type cocktail with just a few dashes of bitters and maybe just a little bit of like citric acid or something like that, which is something you can do that the bartenders are doing these days. It's like a little bit different. Instead of using the fresh citrus, just using something kind of neutral but inviting and like bright. I had an old mezcal old fashioned with like I think it was citric acid, and it was so good. And it had like a dried, dehydrated lime in there.
Oh my God!
Kind of a new, different approach, but it was really, really good.
This has got. There are things in here that are reminiscent. Our 2020 Brands of Promise, we tasted everything from chili infused tequila at higher and lower ABVs and infused and stuff outside of a denomination of origin. And I gotta say, this one has a lot of. So it's like you said, it's kind of like a conglomeration of all agave spirits because I get a little bit of chili, like a Pekin or something. There's something like chili like for me in the back. Um, Maybe like sun-dried tomatoes. I'm getting like tomatoes. I'm getting. I can see this being paired with a great Italian dinner. Believe it or not.
That's really cool. Yeah, you know what you're saying. The chilies. What are the chilies that come from Chihuahua? There's a chef I know in Phoenix that he sells little chili piquin, I think it is. But this is. You know what I would do with this bottle is like there's so many.
I gotta have some more.
Agave, yeah, agave bars. Well, I used to say tequila bars, but there's so many places around now that this would be right at home on just like a flight of Sotol. It would really be interesting to have like 3 Sotols and have this be. I'm thinking of the new bar, the Sotol modern cocktails, but a flight of 3 Sotols highlighting the differences in the regions of Sotol. That's kind of where I would put this right now.
Wow.
That would be my first thing to do. Like if I had my own bar, and that's what I would do first is like put it right on there as a flight and just kind of showcase the different interesting Sotols. And I think people would like
that. That's a great idea. Now, and I think it's going to be a big thing going on. I think Arizona might be the epicenter for Sotol flights from.
Ladera. Colton Brock's been doing an amazing job there. Like he's kind of leading the way with agave spirits in Arizona. He has a pretty impressive back bar with probably 10 or 15 different Sotols and many mezcals, good tequilas, and so he's been doing a good job with all that. But if you come back to Arizona, Mike, you're gonna go there and hang it out.
I'm gonna. I'm coming.
Yeah.
As soon as this plague is over with and we've all had our shots, I haven't seen Jay in a couple of years, but I have witnessed his hospitality firsthand, and I can tell you that if you tell everybody where you're working at now, the 2 places, because if you're watching this and you want to know more and you're in Arizona or you're planning a visit, you got to go see Jay because he will take your palate on a journey.
Well, also, if you come see me, one of the places I work at, it's not even about seeing me. It's about seeing what we have for agave spirits. I work at a place called Trevor's Liquor in Scottsdale. It's a brand new store. It opened up around Christmas time. And it's a very deep selection of whiskey, of liqueurs, of agave spirits, of wine. It's a emporium. It's a huge, massive place. It's in a building that used to be a car dealership. So you have this incredible selection of spirits. In the back, we have 24 craft beers on tap. I'm often behind the bar there pouring beers for happy hour every day and taking care of the mezcal selections. And we just got we do have a few Sotols So I'll be interested to see if we can get this distributed to, if this is distributed to Arizona. It'd be cool to bring this in. But
Well,
I'm part of the team there at Trevor's in Scottsdale, and then as I mentioned a couple times, the Sotol Modern Cocktails just open up right around the holidays as well in downtown Arizona. And it's a pretty interesting list of cocktails made with agave spirits, almost exclusively. And it's mostly all about the cocktails, but it's a beautiful, beautiful bar. Half indoors, half outdoors. You know, you can social distance a little bit with fresh air. And it's some incredibly talented bartenders. There's Liana Fuentes and Tyler Horn. It's really, really talented bartenders there. So it's an honor to be a part of that team, actually, because they're really good. They're some of the best bartenders in Arizona. So that's Sotol, Gilbert.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've discussed this whole thing to death. Maybe not. We could keep going, but we're not gonna, because we want you to go out and get it. Brand of Promise nominee in the Sotol category. This is a beautiful spirit. If you can get your hands on it, remember it's called Sotol Salvaje. I mean, savage Sotol. It is a 45 ABV, and you've got a QR code on there. The master distiller. Let me bear with me because I can't read it because you have the glasses on.
All right.
What's that?
This is dated from November as well, right? Mine is lot 2 from November.
The one I have is November 18th. I have lot 002.
Yes, we have the same lot, but I wonder if now, Mike, is that November 2018 or is that
I'm not sure. I'm gonna say it's November 2018. I would imagine that that's how it's dated. So we've got a lot that's been sitting in glass for a while and settling in.
Yeah.
You know anything about mezcals and anything outside of, even tequila? It's good to have them settle because they're like a live organism. Okay, they can, especially the more rustic they are, the more they evolve, and that's the beauty of agave spirits, is that they evolve. And it's not that they're unstable, because that's not what it is. It's they're a living thing, and this is just a beautiful, beautiful piece. I can't. Wow, this is again 45. What is it? It is a yeah, it's a 45 ABV, 750. Go. You know what, Jay? Do what you can to get it in.
Yeah.
Where you're at, and then we can direct folks when they see this video on YouTube. If you're listening to us on Spotify, you're probably sick and tired of hearing us, but that's okay, because we just told you about something that you are going to be the first to hear about. So that's our take on sipping off the cuff on Sotol Salvaje. I'm Mike Morales here in Southern California. That gentleman out there is
Jason Silverman in Arizona, Tempe, Arizona.
You've been watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on all of our channels and networks. If you haven't subscribed yet to YouTube, please do so. Hit the notification bell as well. Give us a like if you like this video. If you're watching us on or listening to us on Spotify or iTunes, please subscribe. And whatever you do, tomar sabiamente.
Sip wisely, my friends.